For weeks now, I've watched my friends and other creators in half of the internet check out BODYCAM, a brand new indie game that brings this immersive camera kind of filter to the scene for the very first time. BODYCAM is a evolution of the viral sensation we saw with the game Unrecord. Features highly realistic looking environments on Unreal Engine 5. Your camera kind of bobs around and it gives you this perspective that you're a police officer playing from a body camera perspective. I had put off playing this for quite some time. I was busy with some other stuff. I wasn't that interested and I was skeptical going in. I was really hoping that my skepticism would be proven incorrect, but I did go ahead and I paid the 30 or 40 bucks or whatever it is to get into the early access version of the game, and I played it. And unfortunately, the game sucks. I don't like it. And now let's talk about that. Now, if you've been around the channel for any amount of time, you know that I don't badmouth games very often, and so it's kind of a big deal for me to make this video and to talk a little bit of trash about a game, but I'm doing it from a place of love because I do care about the genre of immersion and realism and hardcore tactical shooters. Like, that's kind of my jam, and I want to see this genre thrive. And here's the deal with BODYCAM. It is an early access game, and I'm going to give it a pass for all the bugs and all the jankiness because I play barely finished tech demo of games constantly, and I always give them a pass if their heart is in the right place, if they're trying to do things that I support. So yes, there's a lot of bugs. Yes, the music is freaking absurd and way too loud. Yes, even the gunfire is too loud. Yes, there's not that many maps. Yes, there aren't that many game modes. And yes, it is, got a long way to go from a development perspective. My big gripe with BODYCAM is that it's trying to pass itself off as this like hyper realistic hardcore tactical shooter, and it's not that. And whenever you search for BODYCAM here on YouTube, what you see is a ton of thumbnails that say, the most realistic game that I have ever played. And if guys want to hedge, they'll say something like, the most realistic looking game that I've ever played. It is none of those things. It's not. It's weird because it brings to mind this discussion and debate between realism and immersion, and do they equate to one another? It reminds me a lot of the Squad Infantry Combat Overhaul update, whereby in Squad, the developers reduced the amount of control input players had whenever playing as infantry soldiers, so that as you moved your mouse around, you weren't getting the exact input that you wanted. They did this by increasing weapon sway considerably. They added some suppression effects that made it very difficult to see, and they gave you a lot of stamina hits if you were running for long periods of time. Squad's justification for those decisions was to prolong infantry gunfights for the sake of the gameplay loop. In BODYCAM, we take the perspective of a post-fight camera, a body cam. Rather than the camera being mounted to the center of the chest where you would expect like an Axon-style body cam from law enforcement to be mounted, the body cam is actually mounted to like the head position, so it's not really a body camera, it's like a face cam. They add a vignette to the outer field of view. They add this GoPro-like audio filter for as you move around, and there's wind effects and whatnot. They add some like heavy breathing in the background. And so what they do is they don't achieve a realistic tactical shooter. They achieve a hyper-realistic body camera perspective, and those are two different things. And just like the Squad Infantry Combat Overhaul in BODYCAM, by doing this, they separate the player from their ability to control the player character. That's a design decision, and a lot of times there's good reasons to make that decision. And in this case, rather than pursuing what I would call like realism in a hardcore tactical shooter, they're pursuing immersion in a stylized tactical shooter rather than like a realistic hardcore tactical shooter. So they might be going for a realistic tactical shooter, but what they're achieving is something that achieves high immersion without high realism. It is immersive because it sounds pretty cool. It has a very novel perspective as you play the game. It's a new perspective that I have not experienced in a PvP tactical shooter. And all of that is really interesting. It's very fun. I played the game until like 2 o'clock this morning, slept for a few hours, got up recording this right away just because I want to get it off my chest while my thoughts are fresh. And so I did enjoy it, and it can be entertaining, and it's not like inherently bad. The reason that it upsets me is because it's brought this giant audience into a genre that they believe is a realistic hardcore tactical shooter, but it is not that thing. And so while they achieve high immersion, when you look at things like the weapons, they are cursed. Like you've got mini red dots sitting on top of like an M4 freaking carry handle. You have like deagles with this like vortex thing on a slide that's not even milled. You don't have the ability, so far as I could tell, to like change fire modes. You don't have the ability to even choose your equipment going into a match. Rather than leaning into game modes that do promote like team play, you get team deathmatch, which is like kind of interesting, but there's no objectives for the team to go after. So instead you get this like 5v5, camp fest where people just hide in dark corners and kill each other. And I'm okay with like that playstyle. That doesn't bother me. The challenge is like in creating a PvP tactical shooter, particularly one with a very low time to kill, as BODYCAM does have, which I love. The challenge then is, how do you get people to like fight each other? Because when you remove player input from the character, when you reduce the player's ability to, get rapid accuracy and kill their opponents quickly, you're going to slow down the rate of play by design. BODYCAM also has a very penalizing inertia system. It takes a long time to kind of like get going quick. You don't turn very well, and you like crawl and walk extremely slowly, slower than you even do, in real life. That's all fine. Again, like I get it. But all those design decisions are reducing the speed of the play in PvP. And when you remove control from the player so that it's difficult for the player to kill what they want to kill, and you remove the ability for the player to move around the environment at speeds that are competitive, and then you create environments that are like inherently dark with lots of places to hide, and then you add a filter that reduces the player's ability to detect targets and to detect movement, and especially to detect static targets. The way to win those matches is to hide and to murder people from dark corners. And that's fine if it's an objective-based game mode, like a hostage rescue or a bomb defuse or something like that. I played Team Deathmatch, for example, and, I chose not to camp all night long. I was trying to clutch for my team. We had 9 out of 10 wins we were about to win. I decided I was going to camp for the very first time because I know it's like the winning playstyle. That's how you win in BODYCAM. And so I found a great spot. I was camping. It was a 3v1. If I clutch, we win the entire round. The moment that I went to camp, my teammates went to vote kick me, which I understand because they were bored, because they weren't having fun, because I was playing the game in a way that it naturally lends itself to being played. I was playing it as the designers encouraged me to play it, but it wasn't an ideal player experience because my teammates were just sitting in a lobby waiting for me to finish. So with me camping for like 30 seconds, they were like, nah, get this guy out of here. And they voted to kick me. I went out running so that they didn't kick me, and the vote didn't pass, and then we died, and the game kept grinding on despite the fact that we could have won it if I had just committed to that playstyle. So that pisses me off. Here's the other thing that pisses me off. You're playing from a body camera perspective, and they're arguing that this is like realism. In real life, you don't experience life through a body camera. Again, it's an immersive, stylized decision, but it's not a realistic decision. Further, if we look at like actual body cams, and this is kind of like interesting, I have this little like clip-on camera for my hat that I use at the range, and I went to the range last week. Here's some footage of that. So that is what a quote-unquote body cam worn from the first-person perspective looks like. It's extremely snappy. It's extremely fast. It did not slow down my movement at all. It didn't slow down my accuracy at all. It's just a different way of looking through the world, and you can actually see like, the hands, the weapons, and all that sort of stuff as well. So it's not even like a realistic like post-camera perspective that we're seeing. It's this bizarre stylized choice. And here is the other frustrating thing. If it is true that a body camera kind of like immersive first person perspective where you've got a lot of like weapon sway back and forth and like these bizarre axes in which the weapon moves is the most like quote unquote realistic and immersive way to experience a game, then surely the medium through which to experience that is not a flat screen on a PC or on a TV. Surely the preferred medium for experiencing those sensations is virtual reality. And we've had virtual reality for some years. You can get it for under $500 now with Meta headsets, and it achieves exactly what BODYCAM is striving to achieve. You get those same like views and perspectives, and you're in total control the entire time. So not only do you have like this highly immersive and stylized sensation of this like hyper realistic looking and feeling environment, you also get the truly realistic experience of being able to manipulate these virtual objects in ways that are intuitive and natural in the physical world. And you even get sick props that are like actual replica firearms that weigh the same as replica firearms if you're a super nerd like me and you have that kind of stuff. Or you can, choose to get yourself a virtual reality gun stock so that you actually have like a physical axes and physical object with which to manipulate so that it feels and looks realistic. And so to summarize my frustration with this game, it is a stylized arcade shooter with the wrong game modes, selling itself as a hyper-realistic tactical shooter, but only achieving the fake phenomena of that reality by taking player control away from the player in favor of this stylized view. It is a solution for a problem that does not exist. There is a better solution to achieve this sort of experience. That solution is virtual reality. Further, it is bringing a ton of casuals into a game that they believe is a hardcore realistic first-person tactical shooter, and they're playing it with that in mind, except it's not actually that. And so it's moving a goalpost in a genre that doesn't need goalposts moved because we haven't even achieved the first damn goalpost. It is a fun game. If you want 60 minutes or 2 hours of entertainment, it's worth picking up, I guess, if you're going to just like meme with your friends and play it because it looks new and interesting. And there's nothing wrong with that. But it is not a realistic first-person hardcore tactical shooter, and the fun wears out quickly.